The new Pokemon Pocket set has been revealed, and we have an announcement video to break down. What's up, trainers? I'm your host, Cobra, and welcome to the free roll. Today, I'm breaking down all of the confirmed details on the upcoming Pokemon Pocket set. Plus, I've added some fun speculation about what else might be in the set to go along the way. First, we're going to go through some details that the video has confirmed. Trading releases on the 28th, and the new set drops on the 29th. There's going to be 2 new packs, both based around the Gen 4 Legendaries, Dalga and Palkia. And there's also a new card type that's been confirmed. Pokemon tools are coming to Pocket. I'll explain those in a moment, but first let's dive into the confirmed Pokemon. Dagla XP is insane. It is a 150 HP basic Pokemon, so the same as Mewtwo. Retreat Crossed is 2, and it is Metal type. But it is the Metallic Turbo attack move that really has me fired up for this Pokemon. Metallic Turbo does 30 damage for 2 Metal Energy, which doesn't sound all that intimidating by itself, but in addition to the 30 energy, it also allows you to add 2 Metal Energy to any benched Pokemon. And this is where I need to call out that it is not a benched Steel type or Metal type Pokemon. Every other energy ramp that we have in the game only interacts within its Pokemon type, but Dagla is able to power up anything. That means you can use the Metal Energy as colorless energy on non-metal types as well, which is really exciting. Immediately comes to mind that this is going to pair very nicely with cards like Pidgeot and Mew, who each have really strong attacks for 3 colorless energy, but there are bound to be additional Pokemon that are really interesting to play with colorless energy in the new set as well. I am quite excited about the possibilities that this is going to bring in. Naturally, it will also be awesome for powering up Melmetal. So Melmetal very likely is going to have some role in the new meta when it arrives. Next up is Palkia EX, another 150 HP, 2 retreat cost Pokemon. This one is Water type, and at first glance, Palkia EX might seem a little bit underwhelming. It looks an awful lot like a poor man's Mewtwo. It does a less attack damage on its initial attack. It does the same attack damage on its big attack, but it requires even more energy being discarded, and we don't have a water version of Gardevoir to keep filling Palkia with water energy. But there are a lot of things to like with this Pokemon that maybe are a little bit less clear. 150 HP is a lot, and it's able to start attacking right away since it only needs 1 water energy. Being able to put out a guaranteed 30 every turn on a Pokemon that's going to take 2 or 3 turns before it really even gets threatened to be knocked out is a ton of early game pressure and early game bulk for your opponents to deal with. You're going to have quite a nice time building up something on your back line while Palkia is out there pinging everything for 30 over and over while absorbing a ton of damage as well. On top of that, if you use X-Speed or Leaf to retreat out Palkia after you've built up something bigger and scarier on your back line, then you can start stacking some of your energy on Palkia so that it can come in and do a final swing with Dimension Storm to finish the game. Next up, the new Cynthia support card, and this is really hype because Cynthia is one of the most popular trainers in all of Pokemon. She's a champion level trainer and very popular, so not surprised that her card is very good, or at least looks very good. I would expect that at least Garchomp is going to be really strong as well, because he is one of the most popular Pokemon out there, definitely one of the most popular from Gen 4. The fact that Cynthia adds plus 50 damage means that even if Garchomp is a little bit underwhelming by himself, with that trainer card is going to be able to do a lot of damage. Now, we don't know very much about Garchomp because we don't get to see a preview of Garchomp's card. We do get a preview of Gible, however, which confirms that Garchomp is going to be Dragon type. Gible also has 60 HP and 1 colorless energy to do Gnaw, which means it's probably not going to be a very strong attack, but it is going to fit in nicely in multicolor decks. Traditionally in paper Pokemon TCG, Garchomp is fighting type and water type, which would be a really interesting mix if that's what we see in Pocket as well, since that means we could pair it up with Palkia. We also see that the Cynthia card confirms Togekiss is going to be in the set as well. Togekiss is likely going to be a colorless Pokemon, and in the mainline games, Togekiss tends to be bulky and flexible, and often a part of the meta. So I'm expecting that Togekiss is going to be bulky, will probably have a cool ability, and not very threatening attack. Another really popular Gen 4 Pokemon is Lucario, and he doesn't actually make it into the video, but we did get the full art Baby Lucario teaser on Twitter, which confirms that it is part of the set as well. Baby Lucario has 100 HP and 2 retreat cost, and it has a very cool ability that attacks from your fighting Pokemon do plus 20 damage. His Submarine Blow is 40 damage for 2 fighting energy, which is not all that exciting by itself, but his ability impacts himself, so that's really 60 damage. And if you manage to get 2 Lucarios on the board at the same time, both of their abilities are going to be active, and each one will be doing 80 damage, which is quite nice for a 1 prize point Pokemon, in addition to the fact that it's powering up all the other fighting Pokemon in your deck. So if you run Lucario with Marowak, now Marowak with 2 heads is doing 180 damage. That clears everything. If you run it with Machamp, now it's doing 140 per swing, which is 150 with Giovanni, and an important break point. Lucario definitely is going to make fighting decks a lot more interesting. No surprise here, but the video also confirms that the Gen 4 starters, Turtwig, Chimchar, and Piplup, are in the set as well. Starters are always a lot of fun. These are 3 of the better ones in my opinion, and I would love to see them be strong Pokemon, but hopefully they are at least interesting. Turtwig and Chimchar are pretty standard as far as basic starter types go. Nothing too interesting there, and we haven't seen anything else about their evolution lines. However, Piplup is quite interesting. Its basics attack is 1 colorless energy, and it heals itself for 20 damage. That means that if you lead with Piplup, it's going to be able to heal back to full health, or at least close to full health, right away, allowing you to move into the stage 1 and stage 2 a bit healthier, which is quite nice. It's also quite interesting to me that it's using a single colorless energy. Typically when we see basics that use a single colorless energy or only colorless energy, that means that the entire evolution line tends to not require very much specific energy. If Empoleon is potentially going to be a multicolor deck friendly starter, that would be really exciting. Empoleon's also quite interesting because he is a water and metal type, and we know we're getting some cool boosts for metal types in this game. The paper version of Pokemon also features a lot of Pokemon with multicolor attacks and abilities. I don't know if they plan on introducing that outside of dragon types within Pokemon Pocket, but if they do, Empoleon would be a great place to start. So I am quite interested to see what the rest of that line looks like. Electric decks get another basic EX to play with. Pachirisu is another interesting Pokemon. We don't get to see how much HP he has. It's a lightning type, so it's 1 retreat cost, and its Sparking Gadget is an interesting attack for 2 energy. It does 40 damage plus an additional 40 damage with a tool attached. And we don't get to see any Pokemon tools in the video, but we do see this card, which confirms that tools are getting added to the game. So that is really, really neat, and we will talk about what some of those tools could look like in just a second. The video also confirms Leafeon and Hunchcrow. Nothing too exciting there. We love getting more evolutions, especially because they tend to be multicolor deck friendly. Gen 4 also has Glaceon, is another evolution to Ice type. I don't know if we're going to see that one or not because there's not an Ice type in Pocket. Typically that would be a Water type, and we've got quite a bit of Water already, so perhaps they hold off on that, but if they are doing the full Gen 4 in this set, then we're going to see Glaceon as well. Okay, let's talk about Pokemon tools really quick, because if you are new to the world of Pokemon, then these are going to be a little bit unfamiliar for you. Pokemon tools have been a part of the paper TCG for quite a while, so if you've played that at all, then you are already familiar. If you are a mainline Pokemon video game player, then Pokemon tools are held items, which you're going to be quite familiar with if you've ever done any competitive Pokemon PvP. But for those of you that are just TCG players and new to the Pokemon TCG world, it is essentially an item card that you attach to your Pokemon that adds some sort of a passive ability or feature. So some really common examples, and ones that I expect have a high likelihood to show up in this set, would be an item like Focus Band. In the mainline game, Focus Band prevents your Pokemon from getting one shot. That's a little bit OP in the TCG, so I think the way that it would likely work and the way that it works in paper is that you put it on a Pokemon. When it gets attacked with something that would knock it out, you flip a coin. If you get heads, you end up with 10 HP remaining instead. Leftovers is a really easy one for them to add in. You put that on any Pokemon, and if it is in your active spot at the end of your turn, it heals for 10 or 20 damage. Choice Belt would be a way to add a Tauros-like condition to your Pokemon. So something like this Pokemon does an additional 30 damage to EX Pokemon. Expert Belt could be something like Pokemon gets plus 20 HP and plus 20 attack and becomes worth 1 additional prize point. Or Choice Helmet, which takes 30 damage off of attacks from EX Pokemon. There's a whole bunch of different ways that they could play with cards like this, and if you look up some of the paper TCG cards, they're quite a bit stronger in general, and won't fit without tuning them down. But there's a whole bunch of really interesting ways that Pokemon tools can impact the way that this game is going to be played, and it is going to make thinking ahead for 2-3 turns quite a lot more complicated. So this will add some real strategy to the game. I'm excited.